Okay, thanks for logging in and joining for the March RT department meeting. We have a couple of guest speakers. Dale, of course, should be coming on momentarily to give us a little update from the kind of top organizational level, what's going on with Common Spirit Health. We also have a guest speaker from infection prevention. Christina Phillips Guzman will go over just some of the metrics that we're seeing with ventilator-associated pneumonias, C. diff, and proper hand hygiene. Also, some of the infections that we have seen in the hospital over the course of the last year. So we'll start off first with a reflection. This is from the author Robert Frost. I always entertain great hopes. I think that's important for all of us to do in our daily lives. Okay, so top of the agenda, we have Dale who will give us some updates about the organization. Then Christina will come in after that and have some slides and a brief lecture about infection prevention. We'll then go to, again, one of our hanging slides, accounting, going over productivity and overtime. Brief update regarding RT equipment and several ongoing and deployed projects that have come about recently. Talking about team, signing off on your time cards. Employee satisfaction, we'll go over one of the questions that I scored relatively low on for the last employee satisfaction survey. See if we can come up with some ideas or suggestions or comments on how to improve that. Education. Recently, there has been a email that went out, which I put out into our Tiger Connect about scholarship opportunities for staff members and their immediate family members, as well as going over other benefits that you have available through both the union with the Advance Your Career fund through SEIU and also the EdAssist that is provided by the organization. Unit-Based Practice Council, I believe Carrie has not signed on to this one. I'll do my best to give you guys an update from what I know that they have been working on. Hopefully we'll have Carrie on later this evening for the night shift meeting. Scanning scores, a little bit of an update on that and seeing a little bit of a drift there. So we'll touch on that. Positions, a lot to actually talk about here. We have quite a few new faces that will be entering in our department shortly. So we'll be going over that. Easter, you've likely seen some of the billboards in the hospital halls and some of the printouts in our department. We are having a Easter celebration this coming Saturday, so we'll go over that a little bit as well. Hello, human kindness, just some housekeeping. We'll get to that later. And kudos, which there were several, and then open forum and questions. Since Dale is not on yet, we will, and neither is Christina, we'll skip ahead to to accounting actually. And actually Christina just jumped on. Let's see. We can get her going. Good afternoon, Christina.
Hey, I just heard Dale. I got caught up with Carl, and then I heard Dale's not on either, so I thought, oh, I better get on.
Yeah, Dale is not on quite yet. So if you would
I'd be happy to
like,
go.
why don't we just skip ahead to yours first, and the floor is yours.
Hold on 1 second. Okay. It's weird that I can't see who's on the call. Joanna, Marissa, Mason. I got 3. All right, hi guys.
Hello.
Oh, someone's knocking on my door. Hold on. I'm so sorry, you guys. It's kind of chaotic here.
I'm sorry, I didn't know if Carl was there.
Much
Yeah.
going on. Oh, hey Dale, did you want to go first?
I'm fine either way, whatever you guys want to do.
Okay,
I'll let you go first.
we'll circle back. Thank you, Dale, for joining us. Let's see. Okay, the floor is yours, Dale.
Okay, so I know you guys have lots to talk about, but hello, everybody. Just a couple of things I wanted to update everybody on. So first is patient experience. As far as patient experience goes, we are doing very, very well. We are in the 60th percentile for the inpatient setting based on a max goal of 43. So we are doing very well there. We continue to have strong scores in all of our areas. In the emergency department, you guys have heard me talk about this year being a benchmarking year. And so the max goal was set at 35. We're currently at the 49th percentile. So as far as patient experience goes, we continue to do very well. Of course, we want to be, the top performers, but we are exceeding max goal right now. So I wanted to make sure everybody knew that. We are working on the budget for fiscal year 2025. So that is currently underway. I cannot believe it's almost the summertime already. So it's that time again. So we are working on that. The other thing that I did want everybody to know is as far as the market presidents and the roles and things go, we finally, I know I've been talking about this for the past couple of months, but we did finally get market presidents for the state of California decided, except for the Central Coast, which they are still doing a search for. So for the Sacramento market, which once again is Woodland, Methodist, Mercy General, Mercy San Juan, and Folsom, they did decide on a market president, and the market president is actually going to be Tina Johnson, who was the president at Mercy General. And so she did accept the market president role. And so right now she is currently still the president of Mercy General, but they are looking to replace that. So luckily, all of the market presidents within California that were selected actually all had a hospital. And so that's good because I mean, that's, our people, which is great. But obviously they're still going to keep their main hospital until their replacement is decided. So I did want to let you guys know that as well. The other thing that I did want to make sure that you guys knew was obviously, the whole measles issue that we've been having in the state. So as you guys know, there's been a lot of news out just regarding kind of the measles outbreak. And there was an exposure at UC Davis. And so just making sure that you guys are aware of that. There were signs that were put up in the ED yesterday. And so there's signs and symptoms that if, a visitor or a patient comes in with, obviously, then, we've got a protocol that we follow. So wanted you guys to know about that. We also are closing out the flu season. The flu season ends April 30th. And so beginning May 1st, then obviously anybody that was in a mask during the flu season will be able to lift the masking. But until April 30th, if folks did not get a flu shot, if you don't see that purple sticker on their badge, they need to be in a mask. We also still have all of our flu signage up. So that is something that we are, continuing to monitor because, people are still coming in with COVID and flu, even though it's getting warmer now and people are getting outdoors, which is typically when we see less of the respiratory type viruses. It's still something that we are monitoring and we're following. That's per the county guidelines. So I wanted everybody to know that. The other thing that I just wanted everybody to be aware of is we have our, and I don't know if you're going to cover this, apologies, Brian, but we have our Easter egg extravaganza here Saturday at the hospital. And so we stuffed 7,500 Easter eggs with candy. I finished them up the other day this week when I was on a Zoom call. I was stuffing Easter eggs. So they're going to be it's going to be out here on the front lawn. And so all staff are invited. vaccinated, you know, if they have children, grandkids, etc. So they're going to be tossed on the lawn. And then, you know, of course, I'm sure 7,500 eggs took us a month to stuff, but I'm sure that once we let the kids loose, they'll have them picked up in 10 minutes. But that's the whole point of this. So if you have kids and whatnot, please do try to attend. It starts sharply at 9 a.m. And I'm sure, like I said, they'll have all the eggs found and picked up in 10 to 15 minutes. That's usually how it goes. So wanted you guys also to know about that. And then there was one other thing that I wrote on my calendar that I wanted to make sure that you guys knew about. Oh, security. As far as security goes, just so that you guys know, we have filled almost all of our security positions, which I'm very pleased to share. We have 2 per diems and a full-time position that are left, and those interviews are currently underway. And then all of the positions will be filled. We were pretty much full and didn't think we were going to have any other positions, but we did have 2 folks that actually transferred. One that was in school that actually transferred and took another position in a department, and then somebody who was a per diem that actually lives in Sacramento, so transferred to Mercy San Juan just to be closer to home. But other than that, we're fine. As far as the security manager position goes, I had shared with you all, security is one of the departments that reports up through me anyway. But right now I've been managing the security department while we've been on the search for a security manager. I'm happy to share that we did finalize our 2 candidates that we brought back in, or bringing back in for our final interviews. We brought one in on Tuesday, and then we have another one, the other finalists, coming in next Thursday. After that process, then I'll actually meet with the frontline staff and the senior leadership team, and then I'll make a formal offer. But just so that you guys kind of know, you know, the process, I interviewed the candidate first with human resources and some other folks. Then we'll bring them in, obviously, for this final interview, which is with all of the senior leadership team. And Brian, of course, is one of the leaders that sits on that. And then I order lunch and I have all the staff come in, because I think it's important. You should have an opportunity to interview the potential person that you're going to be reporting to, and want to make sure that everybody signs off and feels good about the candidate that we're bringing in. So one is complete and the other one will be next week. So very, very excited about that. Other than that, as far as productivity and overtime goes, we still continue to do really well here at the hospital. We're currently at about 103% productivity, and overtime, we still have opportunity. Our goal is really 2% or less, and we really fluctuate between that 2.8 and 3.2 range. And so there is an opportunity there for us to get our overtime down. And then the last thing, I approved a bunch of positions for you folks, and I know that those folks are all going to be hired. So those are all approved. Brian gave me an update that you guys got some really good candidates. So very excited about that. And then I'll pause and see what other questions you guys have. And I know that was fast, but I know you guys have a full agenda. So
Dale, I have one.
Yeah.
Is there any update regarding the partnership insurance?
Yeah, so partnership, we are still in negotiation. I feel like we are getting down to the wire, but they are negotiating every single day for hours on end. As of right now, we are still continuing business as usual. The contract is set to expire at midnight on the 31st, which going into April 1st. But right now they are still actively working on that contract and making sure that both Dignity and Partnership can look at mutual terms. That is the latest update that I have. So right now it's business as usual. Anybody that we have as of Monday that's been scheduled for any care and whatnot, as long as we have that prior authorization, we still should continue to provide those services. Anybody that's going to continue services, then we would have to go through, and there's going to be communication that we're going to be sending out that talks about the process that we have to go through to get the patient continued off to stay with us. There is a patient onus part of that. It's not just on the institution to do that. There's some onus, like I said, on the patient where they also have to call. But more communication is going to be sent out about that. But that's where we are right now. It is hours and hours and hours and hours of negotiation every single day. So there is still a lot of work being done, but that's where we are. Any other questions? Nope.
Thank you
Alrighty,
so
well,
much.
I appreciate everything that you guys do. Keep up the great work. I really do appreciate all of you. Really excited that we were able to get those positions approved. And kudos to all of you and Brian for getting these positions filled. And if you guys need anything, you know how to reach me.
Thank you so much, Dale.
I'll talk to you guys later.
All right.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Christina, just really quick before we get you back on your slide deck, for those of you on the call that aren't aware, or if I haven't touched base with you yet regarding what Dale was referring to and what I was asking about with the partnership, it's an insurance that covers a good portion of the patients that we see both in the over in EEG clinic and over in the clinic for PFTs. The organization and the healthcare, the insurance provider are in negotiations to move forward and continuing coverage so that their patients, customers are able to still be seen here. The implications are pretty big if something isn't finalized by April 1st. And as Dale said, they're still in active negotiations. We're all very hopeful that they will come to some resolution. So just FYI. Okay, enough of that. Moving forward. Sorry for the interruption, Christina.
It's okay. I'd rather not have Dale sit through my presentation. All right, so I'm here to talk to you about, are you recording this, Brian? Yeah, good. Okay, about infection prevention. I've never talked to all of you ever. Actually, I've never talked to RT, so happy to be here. Happy to share some information that you probably don't see. And also, since we haven't had a quality director for the last year, we've been kind of piecing it together down here in quality. So the boards that some of you may have looked at and gotten information from in the past, like in the ICU, have not been updated in quite some time. So I wanted to just talk to you about a few things and present some information from my realm. So I do healthcare associated infections. I report those out to the CDC, and the way that I do that is on a calendar year. And then I also have reporting out to Common Spirit on a fiscal year. But I just put this slide in here for you all to see of the things that we track and report to CDC. Of course, this is just skimming the surface of healthcare associated infections. We've obviously had more that we just didn't identify, or some that didn't meet the criteria to be counted in this. So there's very specific rules that make it count for these type of infections. And I'm sure you've heard all of them, but I spell them out just in case. So the first one is CODI, second one is CLABSIs, and then our hospital onset C. diff, and then our SSIs. So for last year, we ended the calendar year with 1 CODI, and it was on Med-Surg, and we had 5 hospital onset C. diffs and 4 surgical site infections. And those 4 surgical site infections were in our joint procedures, so hips, knees, and our spinal fusions. And then my little clamshell there, or seashell, is just kind of what I'm going to be hitting on today, that in order to prevent these healthcare associated infections, it takes all of these things happening. And the biggest part of that is hand hygiene to prevent these healthcare associated infections. I just touched my thing for next slide, Brian, but I'll tell you. So for hand hygiene, I know you've all heard it 100 times, probably 100 million times, depending on how long you've worked in healthcare. Right? It is the single most important procedure. It is what is going to keep our patients safest, and it's the best bang for your buck, they would say, right? You're going to get the most protection for our patients by just washing your hands. And some of you may have noticed that our hand sanitizer and soap, we changed products recently, probably, I don't know, time flies here, but I would say 6 months ago about. So we do have, I haven't heard any complaints about the products, so I hope nobody's having any problems with the Ecolab products, but it's just much bigger containers. And you may have noticed that some of our ICU doors were not shutting because they didn't think to see if the door would shut when they installed these bigger hand soaps or hand sanitizer containers there. So we're still working through some issues with that. adjusting where they are located. So if you see anything where there's an old one up or something's not closing right, please point that out. Bring it to my attention, Brian's attention. We can put in a work order for that to get fixed. You all know that you're supposed to rub your hands until dry when you use the alcohol-based hand sanitizer. For soap and water, you want to do at least 20 seconds. And then this is what is more important than duration. I don't know if anyone wants to come off mute and tell me what's more important than the length of time that we wash our hands.
Getting good coverage.
Yeah, is that Mason?
It is. Hi.
Hi, Mason. Yeah, so you can go next, Brian. Technique is what's important, right? Making sure that you are getting those most often missed places. That is what is important. The next slide is just to touch. I don't think this is a problem for our RTs, but we did have quite a few staff members in the hospital, frontline workers with fake nails on. So I just wanted to go over our policy with you and say that we do allow basic nail polish. It can't be chipped, so it should be all intact, neat, clean. Your nails should be kept short. We do not allow artificial nails, and that it includes almost everyone in this hospital, anyone that's gonna have any role in patient care, so that definitely covers our RTs. Just throwing that out there though, but I have not seen RTs with fake nails. And then soap and water, there are times when we want to use soap and water, and I'll delve into this a little bit more in a minute when I talk about C. diff and the role you can play in helping us reduce our C. diff numbers. But for soap and water, is if your hands are visibly soiled after you use the bathroom, before and after you eat, and then when caring for patients with C. diff, norovirus, and it's really any infectious diarrhea, like Shigella, Campy, all of those, we would want to make sure we're washing our hands with soap and water. So our two biggest opportunities are C. diff and our joint surgical site infections, and we're doing a lot of work around C. diff. We are a pretty poor performer when it comes to C. diff. You can go to the next slide, Brian. But I don't like to look at it, and I know it sounds cheesy, but I'm being honest with you. I don't like to look at it as metrics. All of these numbers are patients whose lives were changed or they even died from C. diff in our hospital. So it's really about preventing all. Our goal here is 0 C. diff infections. So I broke out some data for you to see since 2015, the types of C. diff infections we have. We do classify them for the CDC. The yellow is a hospital onset, which means they were diagnosed with C. diff after they've been in our care for 3 midnights. And that includes observation status. So the minute they hit observation or inpatient status, that starts their time. So sometimes we just identify it late and they came in with it. And other times we actually do give patients C. diff through improper cleaning of equipment or washing our hands. And those 11 you see there, that's red. Those are community onset healthcare facility associated. So this means that these 11 patients had to stay an inpatient stay in our facility in the 28 days prior to being diagnosed with C. diff. And so that means that 2 things: we weren't very good stewards of antibiotics, or we introduced C. diff to them during their stay here and then came back with C. diff. So people can be colonized with C. diff. I'm sure a lot of people come in colonized with C. diff. We have a lot of skilled nursing facilities in our area. I mean, just right across the street, we have the long-term care facility. We have Cottonwood down the road. There's Alderson's, Woodland Skilled. The list goes on for Woodland. There's a lot of people coming in and out of this facility that a lot of these people are colonized with C. diff. They're colonized with other multi-drug resistant organisms in these SNFs. And so they come into our facility, and if they're already colonized, we don't know it. They still can shed those spores and spread it. So there's a risk for that. We are looking at ways to identify those colonized to start contact precautions on these people to prevent spread throughout the hospital, but that's down the road, but that is something we're looking at. UC Davis does do that. But my point here is that people are coming in and out. We don't know if they have C. diff or not. And then they come here, they have a stay, they have antibiotics, and then they come back, a lot of antibiotics, sometimes unnecessarily, or we didn't de-escalate when we should have. and then they come back with C. diff. And then those 12 were community onset, which just means that they did not have a stay in our facility, and we also caught it before the 3rd midnight. That's a lot of C. diff. Oh, this did not show up right, Brian. This is Google, huh? The Google switching. So sorry about that. These are the big pieces of how we prevent C. diff, and I focus on every single one of these puzzle pieces. But for my RTs, you guys come in on this transmission prevention. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that. Gloves, this is a big area that we're focusing on right now. I see glove use on WOWs at nursing stations. I see it in elevators. There should be no gloves being worn in the hallways, elevators, at the nursing stations when you're using a WOW. So that if you could be aware of that and try to remember that, to not use them during that time. After you care for the patient, make sure you're removing them before you touch all the other equipment. And also, gloves are not a substitute for hand hygiene. You should wash your hands before you put gloves on, and then when you remove them, you should be washing your hands again. For equipment, I wanted to just mention, I'm not too familiar with RTs and everything you use and bring in and out of rooms. So Brian, feel free to educate me after I say what I'm saying. But do you guys tag your equipment clean? How do you know it's clean? It's tagged. Okay, and so that's a focus for us on the nursing floors. I'm going through the hallways and looking, is this equipment tagged clean? Does it have a green tag on it? If it doesn't, it needs to be cleaned and tagged. And also, if you go to get equipment and it doesn't have that tag on it, making sure that you are cleaning it before you bring it into somebody's room. The WOWs also should be wiped down between patient rooms. I know that's a lot of wiping down if you're going in and out of rooms. They're also supposed to be wiped down once per shift. And I do see RTs on WOWs, so I know you do hop on and off of them. Is that correct? Yeah. Okay. For C. diff, we are dedicating WOWs and patient equipment to that room, and that should be left in the room until the terminal cleaning is completed, and that includes the use of our UV light. Brian and I have had conversations about the UV light and if it would be damaging to the vents, correct, Brian? And so I reached out to the rep. She said it will not damage any part of the equipment. And so if we have a vented patient that has C. diff also, we want to make sure that that equipment's staying in there, that it's wiped down with bleach wipes, and that it has the UV light, exposure to the UV light before it's removed out of that room. Are there any concerns around that, Brian?
No concerns about that. This is new information that will be going out obviously right now to the RT department. This is a new practice for us as we have just followed the normal hospital disinfectant protocols as it pertained to the different types of isolations that patients were in previously with our equipment. So with that said, this will not just be for patients that have C. diff that are on vents, but also patients that have C. diff that are on BiPAPs. If there's a Metaneb, Aerogen, any donut heaters, any real reusable piece of RT equipment, if that patient is using it, we are to leave it in the room so it can have the UV light exposure to kill all those spores and any other infectious materials that may have landed on it. So to your point, the UV light, my concern initially was the exposure to our touch screens on the various pieces of equipment that we have. But as you stated, that is not a concern. So obviously for this group here, this is what we will be operating under effective immediately, and this will be huddled subsequently into in the department. Yeah, it's a little bit of a change, but it's a good one, and hopefully will help reduce our infections.
The next slide was just talking about how we clean. So with a C. diff room, we want to make sure that we are cleaning with these bleach wipes. I'm rounding on C. diff rooms now, making sure that these C. diff, we have a whole checklist, but making sure these bleach wipes are in C. diff rooms. And just reminding you all that the dwell time on this, contact time, kill time, whatever you want to call it, is 4 minutes. So if it dries in 4 minutes, you need to re-wet the surface again and make sure it had a full 4 minutes of being wet. And then I'm sure you've all seen our UV light, but it's right there just in case you haven't seen it. That's what will be brought in at the end of the room. And then see if my camera will show you, since I have this. We do have these new handheld UV lights that look like little megaphones that you will start seeing on the floors. I'm not sure if they've been ordered yet, but each department has let me know. These are going to be used to make sure we're cleaning our wows and getting those spores off of our workstations, because the UV light, this big giant one, is very particular at the angles it gets into, right? And so it's very hard to get into a keyboard and get all those spores. And those spores live on surfaces for up to 5 months. So it's very hardy bacteria, and it's very happy to go on to its next victim. So we're going to do all we can to make sure that we're really looking at our environmental cleaning practices and doing what we can to prevent C. diff.
And
Go ahead.
oh, no, I was just going to say, to reiterate, and I know my team already knows this, but while bleach is used for patients that are in C. diff isolation, and it is used for our equipment, just be mindful that we can't use bleach wipes on our touchscreens because they will be ruined. I assume that purple wipes are safe, and are they an acceptable alternative to a bleach for the touchscreen on those pieces of equipment, Christina?
I would say no, but then I'm gonna say yes if the UV light's hitting them.
Okay, yeah,
So that's where the UV light will come in.
perfect.
This is just, I recently put out this 2-page kind of newsletter to our nurses on med-surg and ICU. And just put it here as a reminder for those. This is part of the checklist of things I'm asking nurses to do. I didn't include all of it. And some of it very much applies to our RTs. So if you're going into a room and you don't see bleach wipes in that room, please get some and put them in the room, so that way we can wipe things down or notify somebody that they need to be put in that room. Also making sure that we're performing hand hygiene with soap and water, not hand sanitizer. And then gloves and gown. And a lot of times I will walk by a C. diff room and I see people in there without their gowns tied. It's really useless at that point. So please make sure your gowns are tied when you're going in. What else applies to you? So we are dedicating that WOW data scope and IV pump to be kept in the patient's room. And then making sure we clean the equipment that we can't dedicate to that room, like a lift. We don't have enough lifts, so that lift has to go in and out of that room, and making sure that we're cleaning that appropriately. And a lot of it I already went over with you, but just to give you an insight of some of the stuff I'm asking nursing to do. Then last thing I wanted to go over are isolation signs. Many of you probably noticed, I don't know, 3-4 months ago, that they all changed. So I just wanted to touch on a few of them. They look different, the reason, but they have the same message, maybe even clearer or better for our ancillary departments. I know RTs are very used to this, especially since most of you worked through COVID. You guys know how to don and doff PPE and what you should wear in certain situations. Not all of our like lab and other ancillary departments like PT and OT and speech know exactly what they're doing. So hopefully this is clearer for them. And it tells you exactly what needs to be done. The thing we went to these because we share a float pool and we wanted to standardize to make sure that for our nurses and nursing assistants, no matter what facility they went to, they were seeing all the same signs and knew exactly what to do. The thing I don't like about this airborne sign is it does not say the door must be kept close. That's a very important part of this. You can go on to the next one. Airborne droplet. Go ahead.
Actually, I do have a question as it pertains to respiratory therapy and what what our staff will be potentially doing with a patient that is in airborne precautions. So it says the bottom half, negative pressure room and PAPR for AGP. So does that we do many aerosol generating procedures from administering HHNs to having folks on non-invasive ventilatory devices like BiPAPs. Would that mean for someone in airborne precautions that they could not just wear a fit tested N95 while performing an AGP, or if a AGP was an active process?
So to clarify, you're asking me if they need an AGP. Right?
Or if a AGP is actively in happening, like if they're on a BiPAP.
Mhm. Okay. That's a good question, right? I'll have to look at Cal OSHA on that, but
Okay,
because I know we had issues around our TB patient, right? He was on BiPAP, we didn't know, and all this stuff kind of happening. I'll look into that in terms of that, but
these are
This-
edge cases, of course, I realize that,
yeah,
but
and this sign is kind of confusing because it says negative pressure room and PAPR for
Yeah.
AGPs. But airborne precaution, anyone on airborne precaution should always be in a negative pressure room, just so even their room should be negative pressure.
Okay.
And you can go in with the fit tested N95 or a PAPR into the room. But I think that what we found was that there is kind of not a clear definition of what Cal OSHA considers AGPs. I'm not sure if BiPAP is on their list,
Okay.
so I'll look into it.
Yeah, we can partner on that. And it's not just BiPAP, but we also have very high flow nasal cannulas that potentially would be generating aerosols as well. Yeah, just for clarity and standardization, because RT is going to be intimately involved in these patient types, I think. So, thank you.
Okay, next one is droplet. You know this, it's for influenza most often. Bacterial meningitis, if it was meningococcal, would require droplet, so it's just mask and eye protection. And then next one is contact, so gown and gloves. And the next four I'll spend a little more. Contact C is our C. diff sign, but a lot of times it is used for norovirus or other infectious diarrhea. And the difference between contact red, the one before, and this one is that we need you to be washing your hands with soap and water. And we also need people to know that that room needs to be cleaned with bleach and any equipment needs to be cleaned with bleach. So we use this for a lot of infectious diarrhea. The next one is enhanced droplet. So this is COVID, would also be Mpox. Those are about the only two things we use it for. So it's mainly COVID here. We haven't had any hospitalized Mpox cases. So fit tested N95 and eye protection or a PAPR, and then gown and gloves. And so it's a PAPR for AGPs, but so now I'm here. You got me again, Brian. Okay. We'll talk about that. Enhanced contact precautions. We haven't had to use this yet, but it is in our isolation cards and it's there in case we get a case of Candida auris. So that is been in the news a lot lately. Is superbug. Everyone's talking about super fungus, and we haven't had cases in our facility that we know of, but if we were ever to receive any patients from a ventilator sniff or a long-term acute care hospital, we would be required to screen them. It's a new standard for CDPH. At our facility, we don't receive patients from these facilities. We typically send them there. But for our sister facilities, they are screening people. They do receive them. They are screening people. And this is for that instance. And the reason why we had to create a separate, another contact precautions is because this one requires alcohol-based hand gels, so they don't want you washing with soap and water. They want you using that hand sanitizer, and it also does need to be cleaned with bleach. Last one is our neutropenic precautions. So the one before didn't really, it didn't look as nice as this, and it didn't follow the style of our other signs as well. But this is to protect the patient, not us. Just making sure we're washing our hands and then using a surgical mask and not entering that room if we've had any signs or symptoms of being sick. And this one does say keep door closed, which it should. And then I didn't mention when I was talking about hand washing, how I should have mentioned it for all of our RTs too. So another thing that comes up is ventilator associated pneumonia, and you want to make sure that you have, good, it's another reason for you all to have very good hand hygiene. It can reduce it's been proven to reduce our patients' length of stay in ICUs. It can reduce or even prevent instances of ventilator associated pneumonia. So it's a very important thing for me to mention to our RTs. And I don't know, Brian, this did not transfer over well. My name is gone, my phone number is gone. So Tiger Connect, please reach out to me if you have any questions or concerns ever, anything, suggestions for improvement in terms of infection control. My extension is 5657, but you can always reach out to me through Tiger Connect and I'll get back to you. Any questions?
No questions. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you very much, Christina. Thank you for your time.
See you.
See you. Okay. We will move on forward with, oh, there was, man, she just had to do a fancy last slide. Well, that's her name, that's her extension, and of course, like she said, she can be contacted via Tiger Connect as well. All right, shifting gears hard, back to accounting. Dale had mentioned overtime and productivity from a hospital perspective, which we're still doing very well. We're doing incredibly well in our department with a productivity year to date at 116.2. We're actually doing too well. This is one of the metrics that I was using to leverage our CFO and Dale to open up some additional full-time positions, not just to make sure that our PFT lab was not closing as it had been in recent weeks and months, but also to make sure that we can reduce that productivity. Ideally, we'd like to be around 103%, not 116. It means that you guys you're working extremely hard, and we don't want, I don't want that for you, and Dale doesn't want that for any of his departments either. What also is happening is a lot of overtime, as you guys know. I am very generous whenever it comes to making sure that we are fully staffed and safely staffed. So I will continue to put those shifts out there, but realistically, from a operation standpoint, we really are looking to have overtime, like Dale said, under 2% or less. This is an issue that's not just affecting the respiratory therapy department, but it is affecting the hospital at large. And hopefully with onboarding some new employees, we will be able to kind of tackle that OT percentage as well. Just to reiterate, kind of dovetailing off of what Christina was saying, you guys are doing a phenomenal job with this. There are some lapses that are noticed occasionally, but by and large, those individuals are talked to right away and corrections made. Just cleaning appropriately, dressing, bagging, tagging, and plugging in all equipment that has a backup battery component. when we are surveyed up on the 4th floor where we keep all of our equipment, or even on the grab and go areas in the ED and up in the ICU, it's noted time after time that we are fully compliant. We do have green tags and bags, dust covers over all of our equipment. This is good not just from a infection standpoint, but also, as you guys will likely know, we occasionally get ceiling leaks, and the dust covers do help save the equipment, otherwise would be potentially damaged, if not ruined, if they were exposed to water. So keep up the good work there. This is something that I touched on last month. It is something that is still a work in progress. There are several like low-hanging fruit items that were identified as potential risks for infection. One of them being the continued use of what are supposed to, by the manufacturer, be single-use flow meter adapters. You've seen these yellow and green ones throughout ED and the wards and the ICU. What we're looking to do is pivot towards a clear plastic single-use adapter that can be just thrown away after an admission. And this is not just an issue that's affecting this department. It's an issue that's affecting all of our sister facilities. It has been identified as a risk that these particular single-use adapters are being used for multiple patients, and that's not what they're intended to do. So that you have likely seen some of these clear plastic ones be deployed already. And the intent behind them is to dispose of them as you would dispose of a nasal cannula when a patient is discharged. So that's item number 1. Item number 2, there's a project going on in the ICU to change out the equipment, the suction regulators. We have a lot of suction regulators, obviously, in all parts of the hospital that have no way of protecting the regulator itself if there's overflow that comes from the canister. As you're probably well aware, that not all suction canisters are watched closely. Sometimes they get really full, sometimes they get over full, and the mechanisms that they have in place in the canister itself gets overwhelmed, and contents come up through the vacuum tubing into the regulator and potentially into our wall suction. What you see here on the slide is what we are going to be deploying in the ICU specifically. It is a new regulator that has a vacuum trap, so that if by chance the suction canisters get over full, the vacuum tubing will drain into the vac trap before it's able to get into the regulator and into our wall, causing potential infection vectors. So this is the remedy that we have selected for ICU. For the rest of the house, it's something that is a bit more elegant and simple, so we don't have to spend so much capital in purchasing new suction regulators. I'm not sure if I did include it. This is what we are, the device that we're looking to pivot towards on the floors. Essentially, this is a vacuum tubing that will go from the canister to the regulator, and it is able to utilize the equipment that we currently have. Incorporated into the vacuum tubing is a hydrophobic bacteria filter that will completely disable any sort of movement or suction if it gets wet. And this is another item that is obviously it's single patient use and will be changed out upon the discharge of a patient in the room, or if it's visibly soiled during a patient stay. This, again, just trying to make sure that our processes are as clean as possible to ensure that we're not causing any harm to our patients inadvertently through infections. This hopefully will be, I've been working with Clyde. He has ordered some samples. They should be here probably early next week, and we can start trialing them.
Really quick,
Yes,
on
please.
those flow meter things that we were switching out on 2A. I
Yes.
noticed the other day that I was there they're getting moved and taken off. So I don't know what the real name is, but those triple nipple things that we put on with the 3 outlets in there, those
Yes, I think you're
O2
talking about the
selectors.
selectors. Yes.
Yeah. So they're getting taken off. I don't know why. I don't know. I don't know. So maybe 2A staff needs just a little reminder, education or something, just letting them know it should be standard in each room. Even flow meters are getting moved. Ys are getting taken down.
Okay.
I don't know.
That's an excellent point. The Y should not be taken down. I will communicate with Susan and to let her staff know that this is what we're pivoting towards. Specifically, that's an excellent catch, Marissa. The reason that we are moving to having Ys into in all the rooms is specifically to get rid of the oxygen selector. That is something else that should be single patient use as well, but has been used for multiple patients. So obviously, the idea is that we don't have a lot of oxygen ports in the wall or quick connects that are available. With utilizing the Y, we can have a flow meter that is specifically for rendering HHNs while still having a 50 PSI adapter behind it to run any kind of equipment that we need. So if that, it sounds to me that this is not has been received by 2A staff from Susan. So I'll circle back with her about that.
Thanks.
Yeah. Anything else, Marissa?
No, that's it.
Okay. Good question. Okay. Just to kind of reiterate, I mentioned this last month. As you guys are really well aware, Philips V60 BiPAP has quite a few open recalls on it. The company Philips has decided to get out of the medical equipment business and will be pivoting exclusively to just support equipment like consumables, like circuits. With that being said, all of the V60s that are on the market currently are no longer going to be serviceable, and there's no longer going to be parts available. This is a huge problem because a gigantic portion of the respiratory therapy departments throughout the organization, as in CommonSpirit, utilize V60 BiPAPs as a means to render non-invasive ventilation. The leaders throughout the whole organization have had several discussions narrowing down what they thought would be the best piece of equipment to pivot towards in replacing this. And the consensus kind of solidified around the Hamilton C1. This is a machine that we are familiar with here at Woodland. We have 3 units currently. And CommonSpirit Health is going to be earmarking, I think, around $20 million to purchase C1s, enough C1s to offset the amount of V60s that any particular facility has. I think we have about 8 V60s in our stock in our equipment room. It doesn't mean that we're going to lose our V60s. We own all of them. Just as they start breaking, they'll go away or they'll be used as scrap. And we will be basically rendering at some point all of our non-invasive BiPAP patients with a C1 as our V60s kind of peter out and die. So just wanted to touch on this again for those of you that didn't catch the department meeting last month. The timeline for this, hopefully the goal is by the end of the calendar year, we should be receiving our new stock of C1s. Team time card. So there's definitely an area of opportunity when it comes to signing off on time cards at the end of pay periods. It's difficult because there are a lot of you that sign off on them appropriately, but then have requests that are pending that still need to be signed off on. I'm trying to think of the most elegant and non-invasive way to ensure that you guys have the ability to be compliant. I am currently looking into applications that could be downloaded on your phone. Where my head's at currently and what I've been tossing around for probably the last 5 to 6 months is having these available to you so that you can sign in real time on the Monday when payroll closes, after all of the requests for additions are approved by me. There is an application that I believe exists that you can have on your phone that will allow you to sign off just in real time. I think this will ensure that we have better compliance, and just to really kind of put the responsibility on you to ensure that all the hours are accounted for. I do my best to audit and make sure that everything looks appropriate so that you guys are paid for the time that you're here, but also want to make sure that it looks right to you. And part of that will be just ensuring that you are signing off on them after everything is up to date. So no change as of yet. I'm still trying to work on the details of what that looks like and ensure that that application is still supported and exists, but more to come. Employee satisfaction. It's been a couple months since we went over some opportunities from the last employee satisfaction survey. And as we come up on the next one, which is this coming June, July, I thought it would be good to get back into it. So again, it's a difficult one. Obviously, this is something that gets scored low on consistently, but it's senior leadership is dedicated to serving those who are vulnerable while keeping the ministry financially sustainable. While this doesn't directly reflect what I'm doing or what we're doing here at Woodland, nevertheless, it is something that is counted, and it's something that you are able to voice your opinion on. So with that said, this came back relatively low. So there's 3 of us on the call right now. If you don't have a suggestion as to how to make this metric higher, would you be willing to share, or do you have an idea why it might be scoring at the place that it is? Don't go all at once. So, yeah, I mean, it's a hard one to kind of put your finger on. I don't know how I can communicate this more to you. Obviously, we are a nonprofit organization. We render a lot of care and donate a lot to our community. A lot of this is showcased in our insights, which I try to print out for you guys for the department and in Tiger Connect. Yeah, we are the largest Catholic affiliated healthcare system in the nation, and this is only done with a lot of care coordination and planning. So yeah, I don't know. If you feel more comfortable talking to me about this offline, obviously, please feel free. This is a tough one to kind of answer. So yeah. Next month we'll have a different question, hopefully some more insight at that point. This is a hanging slide from last month as well, just to kind of reiterate the new kind of plan that we have with Skills Fair and Clinical Skills Day. Historically, we have been able to do this all in one day, but due to regulatory compliance issues, we have had to break it up into 2 days. There's staff members that are scheduled and signed up to attend beginning in April. What I'm going to try to do is get as many people done as quickly as possible earlier in the year, just because going by birthdays inevitably leads to having to either reschedule and then missing the year entirely. Both days are about 4 hours. And yeah, unfortunately, we can't do it. We can't cram it all into one day like we did previously. So this is an email that speaks to that, and just showcasing it again for you guys today. This may affect those of you that work in PFT. Big shout out to Josh for helping recreate some of our documents into Google, the Google form. I still have access to Microsoft. I'm not sure if that is the case throughout the hospital. I know that this was going to be taken away in a staggered fashion. The idea is that we are eliminating Windows and going to be transitioning fully into the Google suite of software that is be what we use for like Excel. We have Sheets. For Word, we have Docs and so forth. Personally, I have very strong opinions about it. I don't like it, but it is what it is. I will do the best that I can to help partner with you to transition any kind of documents that we need, whether it be used for EEG, EKG, PFT, pulmonary rehab. It'll be a bit of a learning curve to begin with, admittedly, but we will get there. And you may or may not have noticed this, for those of you that are really checking your emails all the time. Those emails that were 3 years or older have already been wiped out from your collective mailboxes and labels. As of April 20th, any email older than 1 year will be automatically deleted. This is just the new policy retention, email retention policy. The why behind this is to make us a little bit more safe from cybersecurity threats. That's what I was told. So if there's anything pressing, anything in your email box that is really important, you think that's important, the suggestion was to find it and print out a hard copy. It's not easy, but that is the workaround that I had been given. Education. So this was the Tiger Connect that I shared with you guys earlier in the week. This is for employees and their immediate family members. It is worth a shot if you have someone that is looking to pursue, advance their degree in a healthcare related field. Please feel free to fill out the application form and give it your best shot to be selected for a scholarship. And then beyond that, just because you work for the organization and are represented by SEIU, you have EdAssist that is around $3,500 every fiscal year that's available to you for courses, certifications, credentials, what have you. And then the Education Fund also does the same and is very helpful for just college courses as well, up to, I think, a little over $5,000. So both are programs that I have utilized before and would be happy to help out if you guys are interested in using them. This is just a blanket FYI to be mindful of. There was an IRIS that was submitted against respiratory therapy as it pertains to DPI in our behavioral health unit. What had happened, we had a patient that was ordered medication in a DPI form. It was administered, and then between the initial administration and the next subsequent administrations, the DPI couldn't be found, which meant that we had to go to pharmacy to be reissued the same DPI. This apparently happened twice during this patient's admission. Obviously, this isn't this isn't the practice that we would like to maintain. We want to keep a handle on the medications that we have for our patients. These really should be secured in the med room up on behavioral health, and for that matter, in the med room in the different wards in the hospital. I know we've moved away from DPIs and MDIs in favor of nebulizers. But just so that you guys are aware, this is being looked at. This was reported by a pharmacy tech, and yeah, just be more cognizant of where these units are going, so that we don't have to potentially build a patient more than we ought to.
Can I ask a question about the iris that you just referred to?
Yes.
So I'm pretty sure that I'm the one that came and asked for it 2 days
Okay.
after. And I kind of wish I had irised it myself now that I'm like hearing you talk about it. When I looked back at when it was initially administered, it was on the MAR, it was scanned by a nurse, and I had mentioned that to them. So I don't know if RT ever really got hands on the med. So if I'm thinking of the same instance, that is kind of an important detail. But absolutely, I think we shouldn't be going and asking for replacement inhalers. But it sounds like it wasn't even handled by us at all.
Interesting.
So,
okay.
Yeah.
No, that's actually, thank you so very much for sharing that, Mason. This, without getting too into the weeds with what this iris was about, from my memory, there was very scant information in it, so I wasn't able to dig into really any kind of patient chart to see. But that totally makes sense, what you're saying. There are nurses that do administer RT medications on occasion, and it could be that that was just the case. And it was lost in the shuffle. I thank you again, Mason. I will take that to I'll take that to Ryan in pharmacy, and just maybe we can get some more details and kind of drill down on where this came from. But yeah, just as a matter of practice, I know you guys are you've handled DPIs, you've handled MDIs during COVID. You guys are very familiar with the process, so it was shocking to see this come up. But I felt like it was warranted to just bring up. But yeah, to your point, if this was handled by a nurse, who knows what happened to it subsequently? They don't know what our processes are necessarily. So thank you. Okay, Unit-Based Practice Council. We don't have Carrie, and obviously Danielle is out recovering. Again, more of the same, really working on getting some RT social events happening. I think we're talking about potentially going down to the Golden One Center for axe throwing down at Sost. There's also like mini golf that's available. It just a lot of life happening, distractions. Haven't really been able to nail anything down yet, but they are still diligently working on it, and I'm sure that we'll be able to do that sometime this summer, if not sooner. I know that they had also mentioned potentially brew bike and brew boat over the summer, so stay tuned, more to come. Scanning scores. So another thing that I was emailed from pharmacy recently about was a little bit of a slip with as it pertains to scanning meds. So I do audit these daily, and have noticed a few trends when it comes to for medications that we serve our patients, where scanning was not implemented, and medications were just delivered. So some of the times I see the notes saying that the scanner wasn't working, or there was some sort of software hardware error that impeded the appropriate delivery of the med. I've said this time and time again, it really isn't appropriate at all to deliver meds if we're not scanning them in. This is a patient safety issue. I realize it's albuterol. I realize it's Atrovent. I get it. I know that sometimes these are stat orders, I know sometimes that this time is of the essence, but really, if there's a computer that isn't working or a scanner that isn't working, you really need to take the time to get another machine in the room to scan these meds in. It's every once in a while is fine. It happens. We're all human, but when it gets to the point where it's consistent and the patterns of behavior are such that these medications aren't being scanned, it becomes a problem. And this is something that, you know, it opens up potential danger for our patient, but also this is what's going to be looked at when we are audited and surveyed by the Joint Commission. So take the time to put in the work order for the WOW or the scanner that isn't working, and take the time to get another machine to scan it in appropriately. I mean, it's the right thing to do. It's a safe thing to do. So just touch on that. And positions, dovetailing on what Dale had said, we have quite a few new faces that'll be coming in. First will be Ina. She's a transfer from Folsom. She's full-time days. Tristan, this is a per diem. She is not associated with Dignity Health at all. She will be brand new to us. Her first day at CLC will be April 1st. Mariana, you may remember her. She was a student that rotated here through ARC. She will be joining Tristan in CLC on April 1st as well. She's our full-time temp. Andrea Rodriguez, she actually is not a full-time temp. She had transitioned to one of our other posted positions. She will be a per diem. She will be coming to us to CLC 428. Naz, our very own Rodriguez, got the full-time night position. He accepted and will be a full-time employee as of March 31st. And we still have posted a full-time temp and a per diem position that should be active currently. Again, Easter, I've told it to some of you already, but if you're able to make it with your kids or just to show some support, this Saturday at 9 to 10, we will have an Easter egg hunt. I will be there in a full Mad Hatter costume, handling our Easter bunny for pictures, photos, and just general merriment. So if nothing else, come and have some fun. It'll be a good time. Hello, Human Kindness. Just very briefly, wanted to try to get ahead of this. There have been a little bit of tumultuous waters in the department. Just wanted to take a moment to say, you know, 9 out of 10 times, if not 10 out of 10 times, you guys are interacting with each other and with others with kindness and compassion. This is just a friendly reminder, you know, we all have lives outside of these four walls, and just remember that on any given day, someone can be going through something that you're not really aware of in the moment. Just try to give a little bit of grace and remember to just be kind to one another. We're all going through it, you know, so. Kudos, thank you. There was an overwhelming amount of kudos on the board today. Or for this month rather. The one that stood out the most, the one that fortunately got picked, went to our newer employee, Marta Cruz. Kudos to Marta for successfully getting multiple ABGs in the NICU. That is no small feat, pun intended. Great job, Marta, and great job for everybody that was recognized. And that was a jam-packed agenda. Oh, we got something in the chat. We got heck yeah. Thank you, Mason. Yes. Awesome job. Questions, comments, concerns? Going once? Going twice? All right. Thanks for sticking around. I know I went over a little bit. I apologize for that. But thank you for participating, and I will see you all soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.